I was about 4 hours into a 6-hour drive when I realized I needed to stop. Not just for gas, but because I was falling asleep at the wheel. My eyes kept drifting shut for half a second at a time. That thing where you blink and suddenly you're 50 feet further down the road than you thought you were. I turned up the music and rolled down the window, but the cold air only helped for a few minutes. I needed caffeine. The highway was empty. I hadn't seen another car in at least 20 minutes. When I saw the glow of a gas station sign up ahead, I felt relieved. It was one of those old, independent places, not a chain. The kind that looks like it hasn't been updated since the 80s. A single building with 2 pumps out front and a hand-painted sign that said, "Last stop for 70 miles. I pulled in and parked at the pump. The lot was empty except for a beat-up truck parked around the side of the building. I figured it belonged to whoever was working night shift. I got out, stretched my legs, and filled my tank. I paid at the pump and headed inside. I should have just gotten back in my car and left, but I needed that coffee, and I needed to use the bathroom. So I walked inside. The store was small. A few aisles of snacks and car supplies. A coffee station in the back corner with those glass pots that had probably been sitting on the burner for hours. A cooler full of sodas and energy drinks along the back wall. The lights were that harsh, fluorescent kind that made everything look slightly off. The attendant was behind the counter. He was maybe 50, with thinning gray hair and a face that looked like it hadn't slept in days. He had the TV on, some late night infomercial, with the sound turned low. He looked up when I walked in, and something in his expression changed. Just for a second. Like he was surprised to see me. Or worried. "Evening," he said. "Hey, just grabbing a coffee." I walked to the back and poured myself a cup. It was burnt and bitter. But I didn't care. I just needed the caffeine to get me through the next 2 hours. I grabbed a candy bar too, and brought everything to the counter. The attendant rang me up slowly. He kept glancing past me toward the windows, toward my car. "Driving alone?" he asked. "Yeah." "Long trip?" "A few more hours." He nodded, but didn't say anything else. He was staring at the window again. I turned to look, but there was nothing out there. Just my car at the pump, the empty highway beyond. "Something wrong?" I asked. He looked at me for a long moment. Then he slid a piece of paper across the counter. A napkin. He had written on it in pen, "You're being followed. Don't go back to your car." I stared at the napkin. Then I looked back up at him. His face was completely serious. "What are you talking about?" He held up a hand. "Keep your voice down. Look at the monitor." He pointed to a small security screen mounted on the wall behind the counter. It showed a black and white feed of the parking lot. My car was there, and someone was standing next to it. My stomach dropped. The figure was on the passenger side, just standing there, facing the store. I couldn't make out any features. They were wearing dark clothes, and their face was in shadow. I spun around and looked out the window. There was no one there. Just my car. Empty lot. Nothing. I looked back at the monitor. The figure was still there, standing in the same spot. "What the hell?" I whispered. "It doesn't show up when you look directly," the attendant said. "Only on the cameras. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But I know what happens to people who go out there when it's waiting for them." My heart was pounding. I looked out the window again. Nothing. Back at the monitor, the figure had moved. It was closer to the front of my car now, still facing the store. "This is insane," I said. "This has to be some kind of trick." "I wish it was." He reached under the counter and pulled out a folder. Inside were printed news articles, missing persons reports, headlines about bodies found on the highway. 4 people in the last 8 months, he said. All of them stopped here late at night. All of them went back to their cars, even after I warned them. They found them a few miles down the road. Cars stopped in the middle of the highway. Engines still running. Drivers still in their seats. Eyes open. No marks on them. Coroner said their hearts just stopped. I felt dizzy. This couldn't be real. I looked at the articles, the photos of the victims. A young woman, a middle-aged man, a couple in their 30s. Real people, real deaths. Why haven't the police done anything? I asked. Done what? There's nothing to investigate. No signs of foul play. No witnesses. Just people dying on a lonely stretch of highway. Happens all the time. They chalk it up to fatigue or medical emergencies. I looked at the monitor again. The figure was even closer now, standing right in front of my car. How long does it stay? I asked. Until sunrise, usually. Sometimes longer. But if you stay inside, you're safe. It can't come in here. Why not? He shrugged. I don't know. I stopped asking questions like that months ago. I just know the rules. Stay inside when it's dark. Don't go out to the lot. Wait for daylight. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell him he was crazy. But I couldn't explain the figure on the monitor. I couldn't explain why it wasn't there when I looked with my own eyes. Okay, I said. I'll wait. He looked relieved. Good. Smart. You can sit in the back if you want. There's a couch. I've got some magazines. It's only about 4 hours until sunrise. He walked to the front door and locked it. The click of the deadbolt was loud in the quiet store. Just in case, he said. Sometimes people panic and try to run. This way, you won't do anything stupid. Something about the way he said it made me uncomfortable. But I told myself he was just being cautious. He was trying to help. I sat down on a stool near the counter. The attendant went back to watching his infomercial. Every few minutes, I would look at the monitor. The figure was always there. Sometimes in a different position. Sometimes closer to the building. But always there. After about an hour, I asked if I could use the bathroom. He pointed to a door near the back of the store. Right through there. I got up and walked towards it. As I passed the counter, I glanced at the security monitor again. Something was different. It took me a second to realize what it was. The timestamp. The footage showed 11:47 p.m., but it was 3 a.m. now. I had checked my phone when I first came inside. It was definitely past 2. I stopped walking. I looked at the monitor more carefully. The footage wasn't live. It was a loop. The same few minutes playing over and over. My blood went cold. I looked out the window at my car. Really looked this time. There was no one out there. There had never been anyone out there. I kept my voice calm. Hey, what time does that camera say? He didn't answer for a second. When I turned around, he was standing right behind me. You should use the bathroom, he said. His voice was different now, flatter. You've been holding it for a while. The timestamp is wrong, I said. The footage is old. His expression didn't change. He just stared at me with those tired eyes. You saw the articles, he said. You saw what happens to people on this highway. Those could be from anywhere. Anyone could print those out. He took a step toward me. I took a step back. You should stay, he said. It's not safe
out there.
I looked at the door. Locked. The deadbolt needed a key from this side. Where's the key? I asked.
I can't let you leave. Not until morning. For your own safety.
I backed up further. My hand found the door handle to the back room. I pushed it open and stepped through. It wasn't a break room. It was a storage space. Dim light from a single bulb. Shelves lined the walls. And on the shelves were boxes. Dozens of them. Each one labeled with a date. I opened the nearest one. Inside was a wallet, a phone with a cracked screen, a set of car keys, a driver's license. The photo showed a young woman, blonde hair, smiling. I recognized her face from the articles. I opened another box. Different items, different license. The middle-aged man. He hadn't been warning those people. He had been taking them. I heard footsteps behind me. I turned around. He was standing in the doorway, blocking the exit.
They always figure it out,
he said.
But by then, it's too late. No cell signal out here. Nearest town is 40 miles. No one to hear you scream.
He was holding something, a length of cord. I backed into the shelves. My hand closed around something heavy, a wrench, old and rusted, but solid.
You don't want to do this,
he said.
It'll be easier if you just cooperate.
He stepped forward. I swung. The wrench connected with the side of his head. He staggered sideways and hit the wall. I didn't wait to see if he went down. I ran past him, through the doorway, into the main store. The front door was still locked. I grabbed a stool from the counter and swung it at the glass window. It cracked, but didn't break. I swung again. I could hear him behind me, getting up, cursing. The third swing went through. I knocked out the remaining glass with the stool and climbed through the window frame. Shards cut my arms and legs, but I didn't care. I dropped onto the pavement and ran for my car. My keys were still in my pocket. My phone was still in the cup holder where I left it. I got in and started the engine. In the rear view mirror, I saw him stumbling out through the broken window. I floored it. I drove for an hour without stopping. When I finally pulled over at a rest stop, my hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I'm sitting in my car now. Doors locked, engine running. I called 911. They're sending someone to the gas station. They told me to stay where I am and wait for an officer to come take my statement. I keep checking my mirrors. I keep expecting to see headlights behind me. The sun is coming up now. I can see the sky turning gray on the horizon. I should feel relieved, but I don't. Because when I climbed through that window, when I ran to my car and looked back at the store, I saw the security monitor through the broken glass. The figure was still on the screen, standing in the lot. But it wasn't by my car anymore. It was standing exactly where I had been standing when I broke the window. I don't know what he had been playing on that monitor. I don't know if it was really a loop or something else entirely. I don't know if he made it all up to scare people into staying there, or if there was some truth buried under the lies. All I know is that I'm never driving this highway again. And if you ever see a gas station sign that says, "Last stop for 70 miles," keep driving. Whatever's waiting there, you don't want to find out.